listening to Between Two Bridges, a business-to-business podcast. With your hosts, Anthony R. Destiny, Joe Ferrani, and Jerry Kenna. Interviewing entrepreneurs, business operators, and investors. This episode of Between Two Bridges is sponsored by Paymark Payroll. Payday is the most important day to your most important people, and payday is made easy at www.payyourpeople.com.
Alrighty, boys, girls.
Boys and girls.
Episode 32. Between Two Bridges.
Yeah, you were here.
She's, thems.
Yeah, you gotta use all the
54 pronouns. Years ago, Billy Bats walked into a bar. Just wanted a shoe shine. Asked the guy to get a shine box. He didn't leave that bar. You know that?
What is he talking about?
Thanks, guys.
That's a wrap.
Billy Bats is?
Billy Bats.
Come on, man. Goodfellas. Jeez.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm only half Italian.
I'm half Italian, too.
All right. I'm zero Italian.
But you knew it. You know. So what's going on in the world today?
I know the Fed met. They promised us 3 rate cuts this year. We've seen 0. We're still at 0. They penciled one in for later this year. I wouldn't hold your breath, but...
Did they say what quarter they're expecting it?
Third or fourth, I believe. So CPI, not to get too in the weeds, but that came in a little soft, which is a measure of...
Consumer Price Index?
Which is how much eggs and milk and... Icy Lights cost.
How much they've gone up, right?
Yeah.
So,
how much is a case, Joe?
Well, I buy by the barrel mostly. These were donated to the show.
Yep.
Is a barrel up or down lately?
It's that's the nice thing about some of the consumer goods that you live everyday life with. You're just not going to live without them.
Yeah,
so you don't even
doesn't
just
matter.
Put the card in, put your pin in.
Don't even tell me.
Yeah. I don't ask too many questions when it's my stuff. But
are on pouches still on sale?
They bounce between Sheets and Giant Eagle, and right now they're on sale for cheaper than ever. They're 3 for $4.50.
It's Sheets.
It's Sheets right now.
Still?
Yeah, but I've recently switched to Zyn.
Shout out.
So I'm sick of hearing about the Zyn pillows. As I have my on pouches right here. Let's hide those
yeah. I have mine over there.
But that's like, there's a breaking point for stuff like that. Like when I used to chew snuff, I chewed Skull for a long time. And I was like, if they ever go over like $4.78 a can, I'm done. And the day they did, I quit.
Did you?
Yeah.
Now you can get these 3 for $4.50.
Yeah. And they'll probably,
But even when they're not on sale, they're 3 for $10.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're still cheap as shit.
Yeah.
You know?
But I noticed myself chewing gum like an alternative to it because like it's mint, you get mint gum. Mm-hmm. It's just all mental. The whole thing's mental.
I actually read an article that was talking about that they're doing testing on now that they have developed this technology where they can extract the nicotine and there's no tobacco. They're actually doing testing on nicotine and its benefits. And there's studies to use it with Alzheimer's patients, and they're actually now starting to do studies because they're finding that adults with ADHD are more prone to developing a nicotine habit because the nicotine helps them focus. So now they're trying to figure out if there's a way that they can use nicotine with kids. But the struggle is, from what I was reading, the struggle with it is that they're trying to pull whatever part of the nicotine is addictive, because it's massively addictive, whatever that addictive part out. They're trying to take that out of it before they start, giving it to children. But the problem that they're having is that addictive component of the nicotine is apparently what helps with the ADHD. So they're struggling with it. So they're trying to figure out a way to use it. But I thought that was interesting because I've said for a long time that I might have a little bit of undiagnosed ADHD.
I think we all do.
Yeah. Squirrel.
Yeah. I mean, I know I couldn't do your job because I have that component in my life. Like I can't sit for hours on end at a computer. I just can't do it. Like, and if I do, like, I'll do the work and then I'm like, how do you frame a 2x8 pad of cement? And then I'm on YouTube watching videos.
Yeah, I have that. I have that problem. Sometimes I'm just now recently I'm just so freaking busy that I don't have time for that. So, but my thing is like, I'll be working on a project and then an email will pop up and then I'm like, I needed to do that. So then I start doing something else and then I'm doing something else. And then I end up down this like rabbit hole of all these little tasks that I needed to get done. And then I get back and I'm like, oh my God, I got to get back on this project I've been working on. I have a hard time. Yeah. And I think part of that just comes with being a business owner because.
Right. I was thinking that. I was
constantly putting out fires.
We never give ourselves enough credit that like we're the percentage of the country that can go to work every day with no boss and get the job done.
Right.
Like I'm not smarter than anybody here or within a probably stone's throw, maybe even a Corvette drive away.
Yeah.
But I have stick-to-itiveness, like round hole, square peg, like I'll get it in there. Like, and like, I think I thrive in that environment. And I think a lot of small business owners do too. Like, like when people are ready to just quit and give up, like I'm not willing to quit or give up.
Right.
Like I like go back to like high school days of like football. And like, I think about when I first started in business, like if there was a hook.
Did you play any other sports?
Yeah, man. I was a triathlete. Played tennis.
Golf.
I wrestled.
Tennis.
I didn't play golf. Couldn't play golf. I should have played.
You did wrestle.
Yeah,
sure.
Really good.
Yeah, I wrestled, played tennis.
Okay.
A little bit of baseball till ninth grade.
Yeah.
I think I got thrown out of all the sports though our junior year, so that's why I like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you can't imagine.
Yeah, you break into the high school, they take away your athletic deal. Yeah. My name, image, and likeness was removed.
Yeah.
But I was I was pressing pants when I first bought the cleaners, and there was probably 80 pairs of pants. And to put it in perspective, I was doing about 20 an hour at the time, and I needed to get them done. They had to be done for.
Is that a lot?
Yeah, I mean, it was 4 hours worth of work.
Is that a lot in an hour? Or are you pretty fast?
No, at that point I was pretty slow. I could do about 50 an hour now. So like,
yeah, I didn't know. Baseline.
Yeah, so it was pretty bad. I mean, I was literally watching YouTube videos on my phone of a Korean guy pressing pants in New York City to learn how to like line them up and do my thing. And
shout out North Korea.
I was just thinking in my head like, I got to get this shit done. But I want to go home. I mean, it's like 9:00 on McKnight Road. I'm watching people like go to dinner and like come back. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I got a baby at home. And I think that stick-to-itiveness was like part of like the high school atmosphere of like, because people might not know it now, but Riverview, we had a lot of winners back in the day, you know?
Yeah.
So it was that like, you learn those things. But I think as a small business owner, if you don't have that inside of you,
you'll never make it.
Where you can just turn the light switch out and walk away, and that's tomorrow's problem.
You two. Done. I don't know who came first, but you two were the first business owners in our class. I feel like, right?
No,
who else
in our class
was up there?
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, Sean Williams inherited, like he took over the reins, but I think that was recently that he's.
Yeah, I feel like you two were up there.
I mean, Abe Amora had a pizza shop.
Was he in our grade?
He was in everybody's grade.
Yeah, he was in and out. Man, that guy. Someday I'll tell you some stories about that when we're not on
next episode.
Yeah, maybe not.
Well, Jerry predated me because whenever I bought my business.
Really?
Yeah,
Jerry, you might be the first, bud.
Yeah, when you had Landmark.
Someone call in, fact check us if.
So I started.
Yeah, what date?
As a side business in 0809.
Yeah. You had
And
years
then
on me.
Landmark got incorporated in 2010. I started as a side business as Kenna Accounting Services. And then I incorporated in 2010.
Yeah, because
so.
I mean, I had a rule where I was kind of like treated like your own business when I worked for my family.
Yeah, I always thought that you had ownership. I mean, I even approached you when you were still working for your family. Like, hey, I want to do your stuff. I want to do your accounting.
Yeah, they always treated me like I had ownership, but they paid me like I was the broom pusher.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that worked. We had talked about it, and then we were real close to it, and then they found an outside partner that had a facility. So it was more convenient for them to relocate and move there than us to partner up, which I'm glad it never happened. I don't think a partnership with family works.
No, I'm not honestly a really big fan of any partnership because I think it's really hard not to have animosity and have like, I'm doing all the work, you're doing all the work, I put all my money in, you didn't put any money in. I've had blunt conversations. I had a client years ago and they've dissolved and they're gone now, but my first meeting, I met them and there were 5 of them that were all going to partner on this new business. Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't want you guys to take this the wrong way, but there's too many people in this room.
Right. And no one's going to work in your business like you are. And if you have that mindset and there's 5 other people, one person's always going to be carrying a lot of the work weight.
Yeah. And even if they're not, they're going to think they are. Right. And then there's going to be animosity. But, well, that person didn't do this. And then that one person called off the one day. And I think they were screwing around. And you have this, you're going to have a beef. And the problem is that this was like family, but it wasn't like brother and sister. It was like aunt and uncle and niece and nephew and cousin and whatever it was. But I mean, I flat out was like, I don't think this is going to make sense for you to do this. I think there's too many people here. You're going to have problems. And I said, what attorney did you hire to do your operating agreement? And they went, oh, we just did it on LegalZoom.
Oh, geez.
Like, oh my God. And whenever it all dissolved, there were huge issues. And the problem is that the people, in my opinion, the people that were at fault with the problem of the company were not the ones that put the money in.
Right.
They got the others to put the money in, and those people ended up losing tens of thousands of dollars of money that they didn't really have. They were just normal people that were working regular jobs, and they all had this idea to start this little business. So they all, put, $30,000-$40,000 to a lot of people. That's a lot of money to put up for something. And
I've been approached over the years of people that like have, $30,000-$40,000 laying around, and they're like, we want to invest in you opening another location, or I want you to do this, and I'm like, you can never come to the table with enough, because I have so much skin, heart, sweat, and tears into the game at this point that, like, first of all, I'm not killing it. You know what I mean? I'm not sitting at home and just raking in money. I'm working every day.
Yeah.
So now you're investing as I'm the number one employee, essentially. I mean, I do have great employees, but it all falls on my shoulders.
Yep.
So like you invest $40,000 into my business, would it help? Sure. Absolutely. But what's your take? What do you want to take?
Right. And the thing is too, is that we both know that, and it's that whole, we've talked about it in other episodes where you become numb with money, but $40,000, I just ran payroll and spent damn near that. You know what I mean? Like, not quite that, but
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like in a month we spend, my payroll in a month is well over half of that.
Right. And that's where I'm at now in business. I think that payroll has gotten real high for a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe in my approach to things and my thought is like to perfect the system.
Yeah.
And become more mom and pop than ever. Because if you can get it streamlined with fewer payroll people and handle a little bit more yourself to an extent, but make that process work for you and eventually maybe someone else.
You know what I think did that for you? Is I think the new company that you bought. I think you probably you saw that company and you're like, wow, that company does a lot of revenue and makes profit with one guy.
Right.
Now, not all businesses are like that. I certainly could not operate everything that I do, just me. Not even a possibility. I had half my office on vacation today, and I thought about locking the door and going home at about 11 o'clock this morning.
But you remembered you were a Raider.
Yeah, right.
You're going to see it through.
Yeah, see it through. But I'm looking at things similar to that, but and I think I talked about this. I think I talked about this on air, and I'll talk about it. But before I went to that conference, I was seriously considering pretty much the same thing, where we're gonna slim down. We're gonna shrink, focus on certain aspects of the company that were higher profit margin, and just let go of the rest, and just be able to focus on what made us more profit, right? After the conference, I have a little bit of a change of heart, but I'm still looking at things similar way, where I'm looking at the type of client that I want to sell to, what I want to bring on, and where when 10 years ago, you're hungry, right? You'll take on anything.
Yeah, you're trying to prove yourself.
And you're trying to build up that revenue, right? But now I'm at the point now where I'm thinking about that payroll nut, right? I'm thinking about the rent or mortgage bill, and I'm thinking about all the expenses that come along with this. And I'm like, yeah, I can't get involved in that for the amount of money that I can make doing it. It's not wise to become involved in it.
You're too tight.
I can't do something if I'm not going to make enough money to make sure that I can cover my expenses. It's not worth the time. And I can't take away from clients that are paying good money, that we're profiting on. I can't put them and say, well, you have to wait because I have to do this over here where I'm not going to make any money. It doesn't make any sense. And
right.
I don't want to say that I don't care, that I don't have empathy and want to help everybody, but there's only so many hours in a day, and I can only have so many people on payroll before I'm losing money, that I have to be smart about the work that we're doing, make sure we're charging enough money for the work that we're doing, make sure that my people are spending their time efficiently and getting things done and accomplishing what we need to get them, what needs to be accomplished. But I have to be careful on going down a road of doing work just to do work, and just to, because I can make $100 here. Well, $100, by the time I get involved or I have an employee get involved, that's like $10 for me.
Right. And that's what I'm getting at, is like, I created this mindset where, like, if I hire someone, I need to get them 40 hours a week. It's my job to get them 40 hours a week. And then I'm like, well, wait a second. I don't need to do that. I need to find the right people that can make this team work on a smaller scale with 40 hours each. I don't need to get 260 hours worth of work. I need 120 hours worth of work.
Right.
And take care of the people that are willing to do that.
Yeah.
And move on. And it's,
as long as you can continue to make a good living at what you need and you're happy,
right,
then that's the more important thing. But they say, 40s for earning, right? 30s are for learning. I was talking to my younger brother, and he's like, I have a change for that. I think it's better. He said 20s for learning, 30s for burning, 40s for earning.
Well, if you ask Brian Mora, he corrected that. Man, I'm still having a hard time with these teeth. He corrected that and said their 40s or 30s are for learning, and 40s and 50s are for earning, because he entered into his one Tom Plummer franchise at 50. So like, you can adjust.
He's not 50 yet. No, he's still like 45.
He doesn't look at. He just had a hole in one, man.
Did he?
Yeah, River Forest hole in one. Shout out Brian Moore. Congratulations. Welcome to the Ace Club. But I think that you do so much for your customers at the beginning, and I still do a lot for my customers. But then there's a phase where, like, you get all these customers because your word is good and people trust you, and then you do so much for your employee, like the people that work for you. And then at some point, like, the cream rises to the top inside of your organization, and you're like, why am I doing this for someone that doesn't give a shit?
Yeah, and that's the reality that you have to have in business, where am I doing all this extra work, and am I bringing on all this extra work just to pay employees?
Right.
Or am I making money?
Right.
Because if I'm not making money at the end of the day.
Yeah, payroll's 40-60% of your business. You're not making much money.
Right.
Doesn't leave enough. But the other thing I think that people do, and this is buying the other company has helped me understand this. I think people take these small businesses and they're making 20-25%. They're bringing 110, and they're doing $500,000 a year. And they're like, well, if we do $1 million, I make 200.
Yeah, it's not
But
necessarily.
it never works that way.
No.
So they bleed these little companies dry to where you can't take care of your top performers, and you can't pay your payroll, and you can't pay the supplier, and you just keep bleeding them because you made $1 million. You think you have 200, and then you're broke.
Yeah.
So you need to diversify your money when you're a small business like that.
I obviously deal with a lot of business clients, and I've had that conversation several times where a business owner will tell me, when I was doing $500,000 a year, I was making this kind of money and I was living this kind of lifestyle. Now I'm making 1.5 and I don't have any more money. I just have a whole lot more stress
And debt.
and expenses going out. And, you can't, it's a trap.
Yeah.
It's a trap that I think all business owners either find themselves in or maybe find a way to avoid it. But I think most of them find themselves in that trap at some point. And you have to take a step back and go, okay, wait a second. What am I doing here? Because my stress levels are up here.
Right.
My profits have not increased. What am I doing here?
Yeah. Sales and revenue don't equal more money in your pocket.
Not necessarily.
And I like credit a guy that I know in the business a lot to, we were in Atlantic City, I think, maybe Baltimore. We were at a trade show, and we were sitting there, and there's some heavy players in the room. I mean, people that have, 30 stores and like 18 delivery routes and killing it in the dry cleaning industry. And he had enough in him and was kind of pissed off about the state of the union, I guess you could say. And he was like, I want everybody to throw a fucking W-2 down right now, because that's the bottom line. I don't give a shit how much you're doing. Whatever's on your W-2 is what makes the most sense. Yep. And I thought about that. I was like, everybody in the room is making the same amount of money, and they're talking about having 80 employees and fucking dishing out all this money. You buy a new van nowadays, $50,000. So
minimum.
Right then, that's coming off the number. That's off your nugget. Like you can't fake that. Yeah. So I mean, that's where I'm at 40. I'm just trying to get a little bit of my life back. I'm not afraid to work. And that's like the thing that sucks, is because at some point you scale something, and if you're doing 400 shirts a day with 2 people in your plant, you're going to touch all those shirts to get them done. And I don't think it makes sense for any business owner to just bust his ass in perpetuity forever to make money. Like you're not in business then. You can just go do that for someone else.
They talk about that in Robert Kiyosaki's book. Talks about it in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but then he has a whole book about that called the cash flow quadrant. You ever read that?
Yeah.
So for anybody that's listening that hasn't read it, you basically draw a quadrant, and you've got business owners and investors, and you've got employees, and then self-employed people. And to somebody that hasn't read the book, you think, well, business owner and self-employed is the same, but it's not. If you're a business owner, then you own a business that operates independently of you.
Right.
If you have to be there every day, if you can't leave town without massive changes in your company, then you're self-employed.
Yeah.
And I strive to be that business owner, but we're all still here self-employed.
Yeah, we talked about it. The guy, he dumps it down even a little bit more. He says, can your contracting business pass the fishing test?
Right.
Like, can you leave for a week and go fishing and come back and your business runs the same as if you're there or not? And I think that's probably what you said, like, true about the other business too, is like, I'm pretty much just like on paper the owner of that business right now. And it works without me, I need to learn more about it because I'm not comfortable like knowing, like, there's a lot I haven't learned yet after a year and a half now, but there's a lot to learn that's enjoyable, as far as like, that's not a bad way to learn things, being in the fire. But if you can't get out of the fire,
right.
And just get burnt.
And like, you go to like this weekend, I bought a used van, right? So I'm like out $9,000. If I worked for somebody and did what I did, I could save money. And if I wanted to do something on Saturday that was fun for, let's say, $2,000, you just go do it. No questions asked. But in a business, you're always waiting for that next glancing blow.
Yep.
It's like never fails. Like van's broke, needs new tires. You know, oh, the shirt unit went bad. I mean, last year, 2 years ago, Christmas time, coolest day of the year, Oakland played the Steelers in Pittsburgh. It was like 7 degrees. I sat on my couch. I enjoyed that Christmas Eve, just watching the Steelers, hanging out. And the next morning, I had to run out to the cleaners. I took some wrapping paper through the dumpster, was checking on some things. My girl forgot to close the door. My shirt unit was frozen. It looked like Elsa just walked through my place. And I didn't realize it at first because I didn't turn the steam on. I was leaving and I went to go to the bathroom and the water in the toilet was frozen solid.
No shit.
Yeah, I'm like going to the bathroom. I'm like, what is going on here? And then I started realizing like everything 3 feet and down in the whole plant was like frozen because the door and the draft. And I'm like, man. So we were closed traditionally the day after Christmas because it's time to spend with your family, you know? And I'm laying on the floor changing out steam traps. And thank God I had like a backup steam coil for the shirt unit. Like I spent 17 hours there, you know, and what are you going to do? That's part of being a small business owner.
You got to do what you got to do.
But at 40, you start thinking of like, all right, well, you got to change the way you do things. Yeah. Like there's got to be systems in place that the door doesn't get left open. Because if the door wasn't left open, that shit doesn't happen.
Right.
You know, and you need to put those systems in place. And I mean, I think moving for me is part of it because I need a fresh start of everything, you know, and I'm going to get that now. I'm going to get a real fresh start of how we're going to do things. And the revenue number just keeps going down. Like we talked about doing credit card chargebacks. That helps businesses immensely.
Yeah. Charging, not a chargeback. That's a whole different thing. Don't use that word. Surcharging.
Take that
surcharging.
Yeah. I think that people have become so accustomed to using their credit card. I don't think it's a small business owner to take it on the chin. I don't think it's right. I think if you want that luxury, then you pay for that luxury.
Yeah. And it's become so widespread. So many business owners are doing it now where they're charging 3 or 4% to use a credit card. And I think people have just kind of gotten accustomed to it.
It's a convenience fee.
Yeah. It is what it is. I mean,
are you allowed to call it whatever you want on your line, on your bottom line, on your receipt?
I've seen it a few different things.
Yeah,
I've seen cash discounts too now.
Yeah. So basically you can spin it a couple different ways. The most accepted way, like for customers to not feel like they're getting ripped off, is to do a cash discount. But don't be fooled. They raised all their prices 4% and then gave you a cash discount. So Visa doesn't like it. Obviously, Visa and MasterCard, because they want people to spend their credit. They want people to use their credit card, and they don't want people to think, oh, well, I have an extra fee to use my credit card. They don't like that.
Right. Puts a bad connotation on them.
Right. So Visa's done a lot. And Visa's actually lobbied a lot of state governments to actually step in and have certain requirements. Now, we're in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has no laws right now regarding credit card processing or credit card surcharging. But I've been doing a lot of reading on it because obviously I own a credit card processing company and we have clients that are trying to move that direction to try to figure out, because you want to be in compliance with Visa and MasterCard, because the last thing you want is them to give you shit.
Turn the lights out on you.
Yeah. So, but basically, in order to stay in compliance, from what I've been reading and what my understanding is, you have to have signage up. You have to have proper signage that says that we charge a 4% fee for the use of a credit card. Debit cards, you can surcharge them, but a smaller percent. And so there's some other rules to it. But basically, and you have to have some sort of line item on the receipt. So either you could do a cash discount where it's subtraction, which Visa loves that because it doesn't look like they're getting charged a fee. It looks like you're just hooking them up. But if you have, like, if you owned a restaurant and didn't want to raise your menu prices, you can do a line item that says credit card processing fee or credit card surcharge or non-cash transaction fee. There's a couple different things you can call it. You have to register with Visa that you're going to do it. You have to tell them 30 days before you light it up so that they know. And then you cannot charge more than 4%. Not allowed to charge more than 4%. A lot of restaurants, what they're doing now in point of sales are being designed to do this is that they're actually, you'll get a receipt. your check will come out and there'll be a cash price and a credit price. So there's no actual like surcharge fee, but it'll be like if your bill's $100, cash price $100, credit card price $104. It gives people that transparency, like, oh, well, I could have paid $100 if I'd had cash in my pocket, but next time I'll bring cash. Whatever,
Yeah.
I'm going to pay the $4.
So my business is primarily going to be a lot of online business.
Yeah.
And I think the way I want to structure it is like if you pay weekly,
Mm-hmm.
you pay a percent, right? If you pay monthly, because now I'm holding a note for you every month.
Yeah.
You know, so like let's amp it up. Let's get more money because I see it now. Like you run into these months where rent's due on the 1st and payroll's due on the 1st.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Jim Smith isn't paying until the 31st. And it's like, well, we need to evolve the cash flow into the business, you know, because even with like credit cards, they take right off the top now. And then that money is 3-4 days out. So even if you pay your bill on the 1st of the month, I'm not seeing the money till the 4th. If it's a Friday, I'm not seeing it, you know.
Yeah.
So it's the way of the land now.
Yeah.
I mean,
it just is what it is, man. I mean, but even if you were to get a check and take it to the bank, it still takes a couple days to clear.
Yeah, and
I
that
mean, you're
sucks.
still having a delay. And then if the, you know, if
my
the
delay
bank-
on checks is longer than credit cards because
Yeah.
I just let them pile up. I'm just like, no, I don't even want to go to the bank, especially the 1st of the month. You know, all the blue hairs are in there, cashing their SSI checks, and you're standing in the back of the line. You're paying fees and everything else that these people weren't paying, and the bank doesn't give a shit about you.
No, they do not.
No,
Especially when you show up to try to take cash out.
yeah. I don't know. That might still be under investigation. I don't think I want to talk about it too openly, but I will tell you this, that if you think that you can go to your big branch bank and take $5,000 to $10,000 out on a Saturday because you're feeling froggy and you want to leap, you can't.
No. We deal with that a lot. There's a lot of rules and regulation about pulling cash. So first of all, the big thing is that banks don't always have that kind of cash on hand. And they certainly don't have that at the teller drawer.
Right.
They have it in the vault, most of them, especially if you're talking $5,000 or $10,000. But you know, they need a supervisor because you have to have 2 people to open the vault, and you know this kind of stuff. You'd think if the bank was open, there would be a manager or a supervisor there.
Not always the case.
I guess not. But I have had issues where we've needed to take enough cash out. We needed cash, and I had to go to 2 banks. I have a very good relationship with a couple of the local banks, and I'd like to, if I need to pull cash for a client, or if a client needs to pull cash, the call ahead helps a lot.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm coming up. I need 10,000. It's coming out of this account. You know, how much time do you need? Give me an hour. Okay, cool. I'll be up. It also saves me time. I'm not sitting there waiting while they get a manager to open the vault and all that bullshit. They usually have it there. They go, here's the envelope.
My situation just
arose,
but
I'm not giving you a hard time. I'm just, for our listeners that may want access to their cash, if you want more than $10,000, you better call ahead in probably a few days.
yeah, and they're always talking about like, oh, it's for your security, and I get that. But like, if I'm standing there, I mean, I did shave my beard off, but I'm pretty noticeable in my ID.
Yeah.
I mean, all you gotta do is,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It's just, it kind of puts the consumer in a bad spot because you're like, that's mine.
Yeah.
You know, and someone told me that when I got into the dry cleaning business a long time ago. They said, you need to remember those clothes on that conveyor are not yours. You need to allow people to access their goods. So if you say you're going to be there from 7 to 7, you better be there from 7 to 7.
Yeah.
Because the second they can't get to what's theirs,
You have a problem.
there's a problem.
Yeah.
They need to be able to
That's a
trust
good
you.
thing. Yeah.
And I think that these banks make a lot more money than any dry cleaner I know.
Oh, yeah.
And if you go in as a consumer and you want to get your money, it's yours, and you're not asking for anything ridiculous. You know, you're not asking to take your whole amount out. You're just asking to take a little bit.
Yeah.
They should accommodate it a little bit more.
Or at least be polite about it.
But do not mention bomb.
Yeah,
I will
don't do that.
elaborate on this. Do not mention bomb. Do not pass them a note. And do not say you will take what's yours while you're there at the bank.
Yeah.
And we'll leave that at that.
So, do you know about a little wormhole we'll go down? So I had a client that was pulling cash out of an account and actually got into issues where the bank decided that it was now high risk. So I started doing all this reading about federal laws regarding these high risk transactions. So most people know it because you hear it on the internet, or people always say, never take more than $10,000 out at a time, because then they have to file this extra paperwork.
Right.
And they have to tell the government that you're taking the money out. If you take, so then everybody's like, oh, well, I'll just take out 9,900 and I'll do that 3 times this week. Yeah. Well, that doesn't matter. They still, but then what'll end up happening is the bank has to fill out a suspicious activity report. They're not allowed to tell you they filed a suspicious activity report. They're federally forbidden from telling you, hey, we have to fill out a suspicious activity report.
You are now on a list.
But you are on a list. And once you fill out too many suspicious activity reports, or you have too many on your file,
freeze your account.
The bank, the feds come back and they review the bank's documents. And if the bank sees, first of all, they see that, hey, this person did all this and didn't have a SAR, the bank gets fined millions of dollars for not filing suspicious activity reports. Or if a customer has too many suspicious activity reports and the bank did not close their account, they get fined.
Yeah.
So these banks are not allowed to tell a customer, hey, what you're doing is sparking. So we're back to
the thing we talk about every week. The government's fucking us. It ain't the local bank.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take you by it. So
I was going to ask you.
You're in a bank.
Yeah.
You're in a bank world.
Let me tie up 2 things. So the interchange thing, you have issuing banks, acquiring banks, and then the network in the middle. The issuing bank is the person that gives you your card. So we'll just use National City, PNC, whatever. The acquiring bank, which is both what you guys are talking about, you're a merchant, if you will. Your bank that you work with is an acquiring bank. So they'll take a debit card, credit card from a customer. They swipe that. You guys get your money, comes out of the customer account. The network in the middle, Visa, MasterCard, etc., uses that for operating costs. That's what we're talking about, the 3%, 4%, or whatever. For the compliance and the SARs that you guys are talking about, it is up to, there are retail banking laws that you can look up. It is up to the discretion of the teller. They're basically first line defense on that. There's also risk and compliance departments that look at everybody's transactions on a daily basis. They'll flag things on their own as well. Those go to a 3rd level, which you're kind of alluding to, that the feds then get involved. But it's for money laundering. There's legit purposes. But if you are taking out $500 every single Tuesday, you can end up on that report for some reason.
Well, it's funny too, because like I see both sides of it too, because if I was at a picnic with my kids, and I opened my account and I was short $8,000, $9,000, I'd be calling in like, what the is going on here?
Which is a chargeback, which you were saying. If someone bought a bunch of fucking...
Yeah, so a chargeback is if you come in and swipe your credit card and call a bank, call fraud.
Well, I had that happen to me. Another conference I was in New Orleans. I'm having a good time. And I had a couple hurricane drinks, you know?
Some Cokes.
It's not, I call them hurricanes down here. You get them right in the drive-thru.
It's kind of fucked up.
You drive right
Too
through.
Soon?
What, a 40 of hurricane?
What? Hurricanes? In
It was fucking 20 years ago, bro. They celebrate them.
I don't think you got it.
Yeah.
No, I know. Katrina, I got you.
Okay.
They celebrate them down there. You can go through, drive through, like strawberry daiquiri hurricane drinks, light up glass, cruising, boop. So I'm down there having a good time. I had a couple Cokes, a couple Hurricanes, a couple Katrinas, maybe they call them that now. What was the guy they drafted?
Reggie Bush?
No, the basketball player. He was like Zion
Williamson.
Yeah, like they drafted him that night. Whole town's going crazy. I wake up at the Roosevelt. I'm in a really nice hotel the next morning. My phone's ringing. I'm like, yo. And they're like, PNC Bank, we're calling to confirm that you're in New Orleans. I'm like, I am definitely in New Orleans. Like, I have not been this drunk in Pittsburgh in years.
Yeah, that's one way to end up on the fraud report is to like swipe
she's like
from
laughing.
California. If your bank doesn't call you, that's a little, I'd be concerned.
So then I go on my PNC app and I'm looking at it and I'm like, I got to call him back because I'm in New Orleans, but I'm not spending $5,000 at a clip at a Walmart right now. So I call him back and they put a hold on my card. And thankfully I had other cards on me. And when I got back, we went through the process and I'm like, they were like, we're investigating. And now my heart's racing. Yeah. I'm like, how blown out were you last night?
Yeah, what did I do?
Did I just roll up to a Walmart and be like, I got you. I got everybody big screen TVs. Like, because you guys know me. That's potentially a possibility.
That's why we hang out with you.
Yeah, when I go to Oakmont PNC Bank, I'm walking in like real slow, like, man, I don't want to see this footage. And they cleared it. We were good. But yeah, it was a lot of money that they actually honored it. And I think,
did somebody swipe your card while you were down there?
So I went to Walgreens when I first got there for like the ancillary stuff like toothpaste, toothbrush, and they must have
they had a
reader in it, and they got the numbers and they went nuts.
Yeah.
Good for them. I mean, whoever got the other side of that, they had fun. I mean, good for them, I guess.
Yeah, there's a whole billion-dollar industry.
Yeah, and PNC never saw a dime of that money back. Walmart didn't give them the money back.
Yeah, they take that on the chin.
Yeah, right. So I see both sides of it. I always see both sides of a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I try to. The older I get, I try to.
Okay.
And now a brief word from our sponsor.
This episode of Between Two Bridges is sponsored by Paymark Payroll. Are you tired of spending countless hours juggling payroll calculations, tax filings, and compliance regulations? Well, say goodbye to that chore and let Paymark Payroll take the burden off your shoulders. With our secure online portal, you can access your business information from any internet location, even your phone. Employees will love the ability to receive direct deposits, and they can access all their pay stubs, tax forms, and information through their own portal. Focus on growing your business while we take care of the rest. With top-notch customer support, we're always here to assist you with anything, at any time. Don't let payroll stress hold you back. Choose Paymark Payroll and experience the freedom to thrive. Contact us at payyourpeople.com for a personalized consultation and a demonstration of our powerful payroll solutions and see how Paymark Payroll can better your workflow. That's payyourpeople.com. Join the growing list of satisfied businesses that have embraced the convenience and efficiency of Paymark. Payday made easy. Your business deserves nothing less than the best, and that's exactly what Paymark Payroll delivers. Now back to the show.
Tell us about the van, Joe.
We've
been talking about it.
So I haven't been to a used car lot in a long time.
Yeah?
They haven't changed.
How'd you find this van?
Auto Trader.
So just logged in? Did you download an app?
No, I just logged in on the computer. I went through a couple. I had like 10 to pick from that were in like the price range where I was at. And
why'd you pick this one?
It was just smaller, and I felt like we needed
size matters.
Yeah, we have a full size van. I figured get a smaller van.
Okay.
And I might be looking to hire a new driver, so I figured give them a big van, a small van. They got options. You know, if they don't feel comfortable in the larger extended van, they can drive a small van. So I like, one thing I realized is people aren't hungry anymore. Like, I called 5 different car lots to buy a car on a Saturday at 10 a.m. 3 of them didn't open till noon.
Yeah.
And the other ones were just closed. And like, if you're thinking about someone's going to buy a used vehicle, they're probably working, you know, Monday through Friday, trying to save up the money to buy this used vehicle.
You'd think Saturday would be a big day.
Yeah, you think it, you know, booming, you know,
closed,
like a barbershop.
Aren't they closed on Sundays?
They are. That's blue law. That's a state law.
Which is crazy, because that would, like you said, if I'm buying a car, I'll go on a weekend. I also can't get a haircut on Sunday. What's up with that?
Yeah,
that's a barber thing. Yeah. But the car thing's a blue law.
Yeah, that's a
state law.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of talk about that in the last few years in PA about whether they should get rid of that, because it's an old antiquated law. Yeah. And you would think that both sides would want it.
Right.
But actually, both sides, from what I was reading, both sides are like, no, we're good.
Yeah.
Because the salesmen and the owners of the shop, the dealers, are like, you know, we work a lot of hours. Like we don't
It is-
need to be open another day.
Right.
And the consumers look at it like, hey, there's a day that I can go to a dealership and walk around a lot and not get hassled by a salesman.
Oh, that's my new bitch. That's my new bitch move right now because I've been looking at vehicles. Remember, like you would go Sunday and you would like browse the lot and you check all these cars out and you wouldn't be bothered. You can't even fucking go online without being bothered because Becky pops up in the bottom corner to fucking chat with me about this 2,500 Denali. I'm like, look, first of all, Becky, I'm window shopping, all right?
Yeah.
Joseph Ferrani can't afford a $138,000 goddamn truck right now. But I want to look. I want to compare models. You know, Stacy from Schultz Ford can kiss my ass because she keeps bugging me after I tell her to stop bugging me.
Dude,
They're worse than the car guys.
and then you see them like you can't go on social media without seeing all these ads now. Like, oh, there's all these incentives on new vehicles.
Oh yeah. My algorithm's fucked. And the other thing with the car lots, not to bash them too much because there's a lot of guys that are good at what they do. When you like go there, they don't give a fuck anymore. Like, remember like when you would go like
They did like put the price on the window and like,
Yeah,
this
and,
is
like,
fucking it. I feel like before.
here's the rate, here's the price, this is what you're gonna pay. There's no negotiations.
None.
There's no free floor mats.
Yeah.
You know, there's no ashtrays.
Dude, Blue Knob ruined that around here.
Yeah.
They
so
didn't-
Blue Knob-
Carvana and all that stuff. Yeah.
They all have this no haggle pricing. So we don't haggle. That's the best price we could have. So then all these other dealers like Cochran, now they'd have no haggle pricing. Their prices didn't go down.
Right, no.
They're just like, hey, they don't negotiate. We're not negotiating.
And their inventory shit. They don't have a ton of inventory.
No,
Not
no.
a lot of people are carrying a lot of vehicles.
I'll tell you what though, the car,
Schultz Ford has Amber.
It's
texting
Amber
me.
today
Yeah,
because
I'm
tomorrow
just
it'll be
fact
Becky.
checking.
meanwhile, neither of those people exist.
How can I help you? I'm online and happy to help.
Yeah. And I get the customer service like this is my both sides of everything. I get the customer service aspect of it. But like at 10 o'clock at night, if someone's on your website, turn that shit off. Just let me look and let me be bothered free of
You sound like
shit.
a boomer, Joe.
Yeah.
God damn it. I don't need someone to sell me a car. You know, maybe there's like a system where like, are you over the age of 18? Yeah. Well, then you know what you want.
You have that on your website though, right?
I have a chat.
Do you get a text? How does that
Mine's
come in?
actually through Facebook Messenger. So you can link
Even on your landmark site?
Yeah, so you can link your business Facebook account. There's like a snippet of code that you put on your website so that when somebody messages you, it goes right to Facebook Messenger.
Okay.
Well, here's my other question. The guy that sells you the car at the car lot ultimately is going to get the commission. So if I buy a car from Amber, she's not real.
Right.
She getting
You're
commission.
not buying shit from Amber. They're going to have a salesman call you, and it's not going to be Amber.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
and
gonna be
I'm
fucking
sorry
Chuck.
if I threw Schultz Ford under the bus because they've been good to me. But my thing is like, I just want to be left alone sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to look at some shit. Like, and it just keeps popping up.
Have you ever
every
seen
time.
one of those pop up and it was a dude?
I was just going to ask that.
There's no dudes.
I'm going to
Yeah.
check.
So
It's
much
always-
for gender
See
equality.
if I can find one, but keep
There's
going.
no dudes. Because
It
dudes
is
don't.
weird. It's
It's the same, like whatever.
And it's
point
probably
of
the
sale.
same picture.
It is.
Kelly's the same as Amber.
Well, I don't know about that, but I know it's every dealership uses the same
Well, yeah.
software.
Well, Jim Shorkey has Alice.
Alice. Does
Yeah.
Alice look shockingly
How
similar
many
to
kids
Amber?
does Alice have? Does she need help with her groceries? Maybe we'll buy a car from Alice.
0 for 2. Who else is in the area?
Well, even though Father's Day is on Sunday, I will tell you this: women are more trustworthy. I think as a consumer.
In what regard?
Well, I mean, obviously the major car manufacturers
Chevy.
feel that.
Here's the thing.
Chevy.
If that was a dude, you would have all these dudes on there trying to haggle the AI. Like, listen, bro, I'll give you $50K cash. I'm not doing
Bowser.
$1 more.
But we're just like, Becky's just trying to do her job.
Becky's just trying to get me connected to a salesperson. I'm not going to hassle Becky. Becky's a fucking computer, bro.
Right. And I think that like I miss that kind of like concept of like, yeah, I know it's worth 37. I get it. You know, it's got 10,000 miles. I'll give you.
Dude, I think a lot of people miss that. That one dude's on TikTok. That guy, I forget what the guy's name is, but he has a small delership in New Jersey, and he's blown up because he asks his customers, "Can we do this negotiation on film?" I'm posting on TikTok. So he's like blown up
Because
because
glasses,
no,
white guy.
no. This guy's like, he's Middle Eastern of some sort.
Yeah, there's
I
nobody
forget
in
where.
New Jersey that's white and wears glasses. Just this.
Not this guy. But him and his brother own a dealer. It's a Mitsubishi dealership, but they do a lot of exotics. They do like a lot. And he asks, like, can we do this? So he gets all these customers from all over the country that like fly in to buy shit off of him so they can be on TikTok.
And haggle.
But he's like, his channel has blown up because I think people, they like it. They like watching that. That dude that, Volker or whatever that does Rolexes. You ever see him on TikTok?
Yeah.
He's negotiating TikToks. People like watching that stuff.
Yeah, it's fun. It's kind of because I think that not everybody has that in them to negotiate. And I always laugh like when I am going to, like, I bought a lot of used equipment and I'm like, it's all about the mood you are in when you get to that moment, you know? Like I bought some equipment in Georgia and the dude was supposed to have a forklift there. And it wasn't there, and I had no help, and I went to Harbor Freight and bought like a chain fall and like dragged this equipment onto the truck myself. And like I didn't pay him before I loaded the truck, and I had it on the truck, and I was pissed off. And now I'm like, I got, a 17-hour drive home. So like I walk in and like our deal was like $7,500. I was like, here's $6, bro. And like, if you don't like it, you can take the shit off the truck now because like I'm not taking it off the truck and I'm pissed. And he was like, well, yeah. And he like took it. And
he was probably shocked. Like that guy just
told me.
He just ripped me off for $1,500.
Yeah. Pretty much told me what he was going to pay. And I'm thinking like, had that not gone down like that, I probably would have never done that.
Dude, I'm a car guy. I like buying cars. I typically deal with salespeople that I've bought from before or I'm friends with, and we just we work the deal before I even step foot there. Like, I don't remember the last time I walked in was like, well, take 5 of me. My 2014 Sierra, that's the last time that I haggled.
I always feel like,
as far as like being there and being like, well, let me take this back to my manager. Usually it's like, hey, dude, you got this on your lot. What's your best number? Yeah, you got to do better than that. Okay, I'm not going to buy it. Forget it.
Yeah. Well, that's nice to know because I'd never have taken that avenue. Because, I haven't bought a new vehicle. I bought the Kias, whatever. When I bought my truck, I would have paid $10,000 more. Because I was a point in my life where, like, I didn't know if I'd get financing for $5,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I'm like, they're like,
I'm approved?
Yeah, he walked in and was like, you're approved. I'm like, where do I sign?
Yeah.
What do I mean? I just paid $86,000 for a 2014 SDX. It's mine after 72 payments. Actually, funny story about that is Sarah had to co-sign when I bought that truck. I bought that before I bought the cleaners. And she was like, you can't drive a baby around in a 1-ton van.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I drove you around, baby. And she's like, no, that's not going to fly.
That work.
So she co-signed on that loan for that truck. And then when we went and bought her new Explorer, like a couple years later, I don't even know if her name's on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Funny how things change. But
yeah, I went through that
I'm
too.
for 6 on car websites.
All girls.
All white girls. I'm not pulling a race card. It's all white girls. Just saying.
Man.
Wow. I wonder if
What's
there's
up with
something to
that? What's up with that?
It's the algorithm,
America.
bro.
It's the algorithm.
They know who you are. They know what you're into.
They know what you're into.
Here, slide that over here. I'm going to get a Pakistani dude. And they're like, what the fuck?
I'm going to clear my cookies.
So, I have a story from when Amber and I don't know that we weren't married yet. We weren't. But we had been together for a while. We were together for like eight years or something before we got married. But she needed a new car. And we went to Day Chevrolet at the time. And I'm like,
shout out Debbie Day.
yeah.
Let's check her out.
So
No,
they had her test drive an Equinox. And I sat in the back seat. And the first thing I noticed, the guy, as soon as he got in, he's like, listen to the OnStar thing. And he puts the OnStar button so she could and I'm like, he's trying to get her emotionally attached to this car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm like watching the whole transaction, the whole deal go down. And I'm like, this motherfucker. And I'm just biting my tongue. So she she gets back. She's like, I like it. I kind of like it. Let's talk numbers. So we go into this office, and he takes her. He had a Mazda 3 at the time. They take it back to do the appraisal, and he's like, all right, so let's start talking numbers. First thing I need you to do is fill out this credit app. And she's like, oh, okay. And I reached over, and I went, no, she doesn't. She doesn't need that. And she looked at me like, what the fuck did you just do? Like, what is like? I completely like mansplained the whole interaction, which I totally understand why she was so pissed off at me when we left. But the guy's like, well, I need to know what her credit. I'm like, no, you don't.
Yeah, the number's the number.
I'm like, we need to know what the price is. Like, we don't even have a trade-in value. We don't know what you're going to sell that car for. That car's more than what she said her budget was. So I need to know where the number is. We don't need interest rates right now.
Yeah.
I said, you want to run payments based on a rate, run it at what my credit union will do, which was at the time, all those years ago, 10 years ago, it was like 2.9.
Negative 4%.
Yeah. I'm like, run it at 2.9 for 84. That's the payment. And he's like, well, that's not how it works. I'm like, well, that's how it's going to work. And he's like, well, let me see what we come back with the appraisal. So he came back. The appraisal was like dog shit. It was like less than she owed, which the car was worth more than she owed. At least pay it off.
Right.
It was like $2,000-$3,000 less than she owed. They were trying to steal her car. And he barely discounted the Equinox. And he was like, oh, I took $500 off because it was a demo. I'm like, $500? You're fuck you.
Not even one
but
payment.
I'm like, so I pull out my phone because I'm a car fanatic. So I have an app that does the car payment. And I'm like, yeah, that payment's like $200 more a month than what she said her budget was.
Right.
And he's like, well, we can get her credit application. Maybe we can do a better rate. I'm like, dude, the purchase price is too high. Even if you did 0%, you're still higher than her budget. You need to work on like this payoff, this trade-in's not good. Like your numbers.
You can't carry over $3,000.
He's like, well, I need to talk to my manager. He comes back. He's like, my manager doesn't think you're serious. I think maybe whenever you're ready to actually buy a car, you can come back. I'm like, bye. So we walked out. She was so fucking pissed at me the whole way home. She's
blew
like,
up her whole deal, bro.
She's like, I can't believe you stepped in and you did that. Like you completely like took me out of the equation, and it was wrong. Like I shouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? Like I was like, I'm the guy and I'm going to do this. So it was wrong. But the next day, I'm like, listen, this is what he tried to do. He was trying to get you emotionally attached to the car. That's the whole thing he did with OnStar. The whole time we were driving it, he wasn't talking about anything. He talked your fucking ear off. You couldn't even hear the car run to see if it made noises. I said he was playing it. It was all salesman games.
Yeah, it's everything they teach them at school.
And she's like, I don't know, you shouldn't have done that. Well, the next day he called her and he's like, why don't you come in? Just you come in and we'll talk. And she called me. She's like, guess what this motherfucker just did?
now we're on the same team.
I'm like, oh, I guess I was right. But I didn't say that. And if you're listening, hon, I'm really sorry. I was not right. I was wrong. But
he got new teeth too. He speaks out of turn sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes I stutter. I didn't say what I meant. But yeah, dude, you got it. That's why it drives me crazy. But I actually like that game. I like going in and negotiating. I like buying a car. Some people dread it.
My thing that I have a hard time wrapping my head around is that if you have a negative credit score, like if you have a bad credit score and you go in there, you're
have negative.
Well, no, I know, but if you're on the bottom side of 600,
yes,
you're going in there at a huge disadvantage from the start.
Oh, you're screwed.
And they pry on those people,
Mm-hmm.
and like at some point, there's a moral obligation to try to help somebody to come out of the gutter. If they're trying to buy a car, usually it's to get the work, And I heard this guy say one time, he said, people that have bad credit or have such a struggle in life to get out. And there's people that have had bad credit because people's gas shut their parents' gas off and they open a gas account in their kid's name and then they refuse to pay that bill. And then the kid starts at a 480, and I think that's like predatorial. Like,
it is. And I agree.
Because if they would have got that credit app, like hypothetically off of her, and she would have came back at like, let's say 612, they're going to come in and play the blame game and be like, well, your credit's not real good.
Yeah.
But we can get you financed.
Well, yeah. And behind the scenes, like now that I have friends in the industry, those dealers, like they get a buy rate. So like GM Financial, gives the dealer and says, hey, we're doing this special, whatever, you're allowed to mark up that rate.
Right.
So they're allowed to mark it up, I think, 3%. So if you qualified for 1.9, the dealer can come in and be like, well, you qualified for 4.9. They make that spread.
Right.
So you got to really watch. And my friends that, I don't know if they listen or not, but are in the car business probably hate this.
We're
but
burning down the automobile industry tonight, boys.
Having outside financing is huge.
Oh, they hate that.
I know, they do.
Yeah, but it's thousands of dollars, like you said.
Turns you into a cash buyer.
The other thing, Joe, on your point with you can open credit cards in your kid's name.
Yeah.
Under 18, so when they graduate,
they're buried.
they can
Either that or they can have
my son has
credit.
a perfect credit score and he's 4.
Well, you're doing it right.
So that's what I was trying to get at. You can do it the right way too.
Because I remember the first time I came across this, I was working for my family.
Yeah.
And I think I had 20 grand in a bank or something that I was willing to spend for a car. We went to a Chevrolet dealer and I was going to buy a brand new Colorado when they first came out. And I'm sitting there and the guy comes in and he's like, yeah, we'd love to sell you the truck, but you don't have any credit.
Right.
Like you're like not even on the radar.
Right.
So my stepdad owned his own business. He's there with me and seeing me through this process. And, back in the day, you own your own business. Everything you do is cash. So they're like, well, he's like, I'll co-sign for him.
Yeah.
And
They came back
and they were like, bro, you don't have. And my stepdad was like, I'll go home right now. I'll get all the fucking cash. I'll pay for this fucking $37,000 truck right now. And they're like, yeah, we get it, but
you don't have credit.
And we were both enthralled with what is this thing they call credit?
Yeah,
it's over there in a magical land,
dude,
right.
and only the rich people have it.
It's honestly, the FICO system's kind of a sham.
I think it
rewards you on having debt as long as you make the payment.
It does. That's
I
why
think
your
I left-
score goes down if you pay something off. It's
Yeah.
like, what the fuck?
Yeah, or take out a huge loan and make 3 payments and your score goes up.
Yeah,
it's
it's
nuts.
like this is not the way it should be.
Yeah,
So
it doesn't take your income into consideration at all. You could bury yourself in debt. As long as you make those payments, your score's great.
Yeah, I went to Lieberth and Son Dodge in the Natrona Heights, and I paid cash for a brand new Jeep fucking Wrangler the next day.
Yeah. But here's another thing. You can do the credit card thing. Here's the other thing you can do. You can put your kids on as authorized users.
Yeah.
They put their social security number in there. They become an authorized user. It shows up on their credit report. But not only that, but the entire history of that credit card for the last several years, all the on-time payments, all of a sudden now they have all those on-time payments, so their credit score will jump.
Huh.
So, and then the other thing too,
Totally legal. You can just start bumping their credit up.
They just don't advertise it because they want
People to pay more
kids
money.
walking in at 18. Hey, I want that nice new truck. We have no credit.
Like, I need this
so
pirate
it's going
beach
to cost
towel,
you
dude.
12%.
Yeah, so here's your truck, Joe, but it's at 20%. We got your payment where you want it, but you're going to pay it forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, after
As
that, I think I got a
opposed to-
beach towel and a
yeah,
cooler
you
at the
yeah.
pirate game. I was like, I'm building my credit, baby.
Yeah. The credit. We could do an entire episode on how to build
Maybe we
good
should.
credit. We should.
Yeah.
That's a
We should
good
talk
one.
about that. But there's a lot of things that you can do about, getting your parents to put you on as an authorized user. Don't give them the card. Don't let them have the card.
No, right.
No.
Just add them as an authorized user on the record. That'll put that credit card on their credit report with all the history. And as long as your history was good, it will help them. It builds their credit because it's important that your kids don't start with a zero credit.
Well, credit is a tool. It's like one of the most valuable tools.
Huge. This world, if you've got a little bit of cash in the bank and you have a 700 credit score, your opportunity in this world is exponentially greater than somebody that has a 500 credit score.
And I think I talked about this in previous episodes. I said, my goal, my ideal situation for this world that we live in is for every kid to get an equal education.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe,
That's the shit they should be teaching.
Yeah, that's the shit that hey, you can't get 100 great math teachers in the inner city to teach kids like they're going to teach in Mount Lebanon. But if you had one informational program for kids to understand what credit is, you'd be setting them up for prosperity, like a better life. Because if somebody doesn't have a good car, they can't get a good job.
Right.
Because the boss is only going to hear it so many times. My car broke down. My car broke down. My car broke down.
Yep.
And we live in a fortunate society right now where cars on the road aren't that bad. I think about that a lot when I'm driving around. Remember like when we were kids, some of the cars we drove and shit that was on the road?
I drove an 83 Ford.
Yeah.
It's
Crown
older
Vic.
than me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had an 87 Dodge Dynasty.
I just, I don't feel like cars, I mean, you may know better, but I don't think cars last as long.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But the Cavaliers are gone. Like there's no like these stable, the Ford Focuses aren't around anymore.
No, it's
these
all
kids
SUVs.
are driving Equinoxes to school and like Grand Cherokees and shit. Like,
and you can't get a car. Like the idea that you buying a brand new Jeep for $20,000,
it's over.
You
can't touch. It's hard to get a used Jeep right now.
And that happened fast. That happened over the last 8 years. Because I bought my last delivery van for like $26,500.
And it's double that.
It's
COVID.
A little more than doubled.
Yeah.
Yeah, COVID, I mean, bullshit, whatever. The banks were willing to give a lot of money. I think it starts with like the Escalades. So the Escalade was $60,000 and the bank lent the money. And then it was $70,000 and then they lent the money. And the banks were probably like, we're not going to lend over $100,000 for a consumer vehicle unless it's something extravagant. And then Escalade was like, fuck it, we'll go to 110. And the banks were like, all right, and wrote the note. And now it just baselines everything. Like everything starts skewing. You know?
Things have definitely changed. And I mean, I just had this conversation with my buddy that's actually in a car business that, you know, he used to have the mentality like, I'm going to get a new car, but I don't want to spend more than $300 a month. He's like, you can't get a $300 car payment to save your life.
No, we talked about this on the phone the other day. I said,
I was Escalade $82,000.
That's a base.
Starting.
That's a start.
Just,
Good luck finding one.
If you see a family pull out in let's just say a Chevy 1500 pickup truck 2022 and a 2001 Escalade, and they're financing both those vehicles, they're looking at almost $3,000 a month in car payments.
Wow.
It's $3,000 a month.
Not a 2001 Escalade, 2021.
Oh, yeah. Is that what I said?
I think you said
these fucking teeth.
Yeah.
Man, get new fucking teeth already.
That's it.
Jesus
Doc Hader,
Christ.
whenever you get through your occupancy permit down there, I'm coming for some new teeth that make me speak a little better.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it's gotten out of control.
So we talked about General Salami and like how that's gone up, but like the big numbers in our lives have gone up. Like real estate's gone up. Like
cars.
Yeah, cars are through the roof.
But those things trickle, right?
cards.
If the delivery truck that's bringing that Genoa salami costs double what it used to cost, that's what it's kind of a play in the whole trickle down on economics.
If you got a truck brought it.
Everything.
The employee's salary was up.
Yeah, everything is up, and everything that makes the price of everything go up. And I mean, it's a price that we're paying, but the problem right now is that we're having a hard time. Businesses can only sustain those increases to a certain point.
Right.
And
if now say 10% drops off the top and you don't have that competition, the prices are going up again because you know that there's less competition.
Think about that. So when did you buy your last van?
The last new van was 6 years ago.
6 years.
22.
Okay.
Or wow.
18.
Yeah, right when I got into business. Yeah.
Okay, so 18, you bought a van for $26,000. It's now double. Now imagine, and I don't want to call you out because maybe they have, but if all of your prices had to double since 2018,
they haven't. Not even close.
But all of your expenses have.
Right. And that's the line we play is like small business owners, and like I think that there's like a gray area because like there should be like medium-sized business owners, because I think when people see a small business owner, they feel like you should do it cheap because you're small.
Shouldn't that be the opposite of the case?
Yeah, small business should charge 3x what the big business is charging because they're getting all the breaks. They're buying in bulk. They're doing their thing in bulk.
Yeah, it's hard for a small business, and that's the problem that we're having as a society, is that you're seeing all these small businesses close and these huge companies are taking their place. That's why it's hard to find a mom and pop clothing store, because 100%. They can't compete with Kohl's.
And it's sexy. They have small business Saturday during Black Friday and all that stuff. But like,
nobody spends their money there. And then if they do, they all want to go in there and haggle. Or it's like, hey, what do you mean your prices have gone up? Well, everything has. And if you look at the fact that we're all living this world that within the last 5 or 6 years, literally everything we have has doubled in cost. At what point?
What's to stop it from doubling again? Let's just say in the next 5, it doubles again. Now you'd have to have tripled your prices to be making a profit at this point.
Right. And how many customers are going to get pissed off and not come to you because you tripled your price or doubled your price?
I say that to people all the time when they're like, well, you're a little high. I'm like, well, I used to go to this guy up on Mount Royal. I'm like, where's he at? He's like, he's closed. I'm like, yeah, because he didn't raise his goddamn prices. Right. He took it on the chin.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
You put a family in debt. You crumbled a small business because you were getting a deal. You know, it's a crazy, I say it all the time, it's a crazy world, but like.
We have to get to a point where we're normalizing and we're accepting the fact that small businesses have to raise prices. We have to, because our costs have gone up through the roof between payroll, vehicles, rent, utilities. Talk about fucking utilities. Triple, quadruple price.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm in a business that thrives off the utility.
Yeah.
I'm using gas and water like it's going out of style.
The cost of running a business has doubled in the last 5 years. And if your small business has not doubled their price in the last 5 years, you're going to lose your business. Right. And you have to get to a point where, you know, I've said this before in the greater scheme of things, right? If you have a company that has to close down a factory, like, you know, like a lot of times, like, you use a big company, General Motors decides they have to shut down a factory and they get all this heat. And I understand, because there's a lot of families that depend on that factory and all these people are out of work and there are ripple effects that could devastate an entire city. I understand it. And have. But if you're looking at the business as a whole and you've got this little group that has to change or else everybody in the business is going to go under.
Yeah.
So if a company has to raise their price, take it back to a small business, take this back down to the micro level of small business. If I'm looking at that and I'm like, hey, listen, I can't sustain doing tax returns for $80. Like when I started, I mean, we did returns for $80. Right. I can't even consider that now. But if as a consumer, you can't understand why tax returns are 160 or 240 now, you have to understand as a business owner that you're going to have to cut that leg off to save the rest of the body.
Right.
Because you can't keep doing business at a discounted rate because there's no profit.
Yeah,
and if you're losing money, you can only lose money for so long before the entire body decays.
You can't pay your mortgage with, Jerry's a really nice guy and a good accountant.
Right.
Like, no, because half of that is bullshit because they came here for 80 because it was 100 down the street.
Right. And I can't pay my employees with that.
No. Right. Hey, Jen, they said you're doing a great job over there. And
yeah,
it's
like,
but I can't pay you this week. Yeah, you could have just had Becky.
I'm discounting everybody.
From Schultz Ford to answer the phone call.
Right. So as a consumer, you have to start to accept the fact that these small businesses just have to increase pricing because the cost of running them has gone through the roof. And it just is what it is. And as a business owner, we're the problem. Because as a business owner, we feel bad. When I'm sitting with little old lady Jane Smith that I would love to be able to do her taxes for nothing.
Who the fuck named their daughter Jane when her last name was Smith? Because that bitch is getting shit everywhere. Not just on this podcast, every podcast. I made her up. I know.
Yeah.
But there's Jane Smith out there somewhere. Like,
there is, yeah.
There they go again, talking shit on me.
But if I would love to do it for nothing. But if I don't charge the market price, the whole business is going to suffer. My employees are going to lose their jobs. My family's not going to be able to, to function. And if I have to say, hey, I'm sorry, if the price is too high, you can't come here, and I have to lose this little section of customers, and I'm not just saying my customers, I'm saying your customers and your customers, if they can't accept the price is what it is now, you have to let them go, because if not, the whole business fails.
Right. And I say that all the time. I'd love to pay my people $1 million a year, and I'd love to charge my customers $0, but it's not the way it works.
It's not the way it works. And unfortunately, we have to live in the world we live in.
Right. And I'm in like a unique structure of a deal. Like there's some people that need my business, but the primary part of my business is people look at my business like a luxury. It's a luxury to them. So like primarily the people that utilize the dry cleaners once, twice a week, 3-4 times a month, they're not watching these numbers right now.
No.
Like we're a long way away from them to watch these numbers.
Yeah.
But like in your case with a single family tax return, they will watch the number.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's because
like,
it's once a year. They know what they paid last year, and you come in and all of a sudden it's double. It's like, well, what happened? Well, I don't know. I mean, we were pretty aggressive with price increases this year, and I think I maybe had a couple people that mentioned it.
I'm not mentioning it. I mean, I mentioned it on 9 episodes to this point, but I won't mention it on this episode.
But everybody was understanding because things have gone up so much, and you got to make ends meet.
Right. And I think like as a business owner also, if your supplier raises their prices, you have 7 numbers that equal your equation, right? You have your utilities, you have your rent, you have your supplies, and your professional services are in that.
Yep.
And then you just add it all up. And if you're fair to your customer and your prices are fair from the beginning because they're part of that algorithm or that equation,
yep.
and then they go up, then you just look at them and you're like, you know what? I'm paying 3x more for hangers, and that's why we're passing the price off. But the other side of all of this inflation is how many businesses are going to be honest on the other end, and when the
Prices
hangers
come
go
back
down, they're going to be like, all right, well, I plugged all the numbers in, and instead of shirts being $5, now they're $4.65, and that's never going to happen because it's the higher end. Those numbers at the top of the equation aren't changing.
You see that a lot. I mean,
fuel prices haven't come down.
No.
They're there to stay.
Right. Yeah. Who knows if they ever will.
Our favorite.
Our deer family.
Oh, we got our deer family here.
Yeah.
Favorite.
There's like 3 of them out there.
Yeah.
I know where I'm hunting next year, bro.
Just, right there.
Live on air.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
No, I mean, just how we started. We'll see if the CPI comes down. But,
I doubt it.
We'll see.
Yeah. It's funny. We do have some deer outside here, and a friend of ours said one time that during the Great Depression, you couldn't find a fucking groundhog anywhere. Because people were like, you just didn't see them. They almost went extinct.
Maybe that's what Oakmont needs.
Depression,
so you can get rid of all these deer.
They're closer to it than they think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh, you don't have to cut your grass, Jerry.
Well, when I was a kid, like growing up to go hunting, like the guys, like when they got a deer, like the celebration was on. And it wasn't just because it was like another couple beers. They were going to drink 35 beers that night anyway. They didn't care. But like, when you were working at the mill and you were making $185 for the week and you just shot, $185 worth of meat.
Yeah.
It's
a big deal.
And I've said that before. I think we're going to get closer back to the way we grew up by the end of this than we'd like.
A lot of changes happening right now.
Yeah. So stay tuned. We'll get you through it. We'll get your kids good credit. So at least they come out on the other side. We will do an episode on that for sure. I think that's very entertaining. We could also look into some ways to invest for our kids because there's a lot of information and a lot of it.
Yeah.
I'm not privy to a ton of it. I've heard different things, but let's fact check it before we say it and let's get it out there. Let's do one for the kids. I mean, in honor of Father's Day here, we're all just trying to be a better dad.
It's a good idea, Joe.
What better way to set them up than with good credit and a little bit of ching-a-ling in their pocket,
Hey.
So maybe it'll be yen. No yen?
I'm not. But it's no longer the dollar, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well,
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Bitcoin. Dogecoin.
Doge to the moon, baby.
To the moon.
I do think, though, that like those two principles, if you teach your kid about money and they have a little bit to start with a good credit score, they can get a good car, they can get a good job, they're off to a good start.
Yeah.
It's better than an education,
It's way better than where I started.
Yeah.
Welfare, no credit. Good luck at 18. That's all I got.
With the boot out the door.
Yeah.
See ya.
Well, you're out of here.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing, like, our families didn't talk about money ever, and I'm guilty of it too. Like, I don't talk about like money around my kids. I mean, they do understand payroll and paying your employees. They know a lot more than I knew at their age, but I don't even talk about money with my wife really. Like if you have something that you need to do it, and I will figure out a way to pay for it.
Yeah.
So she's a lot more frugal than I am. She doesn't spend money on shit.
Yeah, my wife loves to shop, but she's so cheap. Like she'll shop she'll be like, I went to a garage sale today and I got this, or she's not obsessed
Facebook
with
Marketplace,
My wife shops, but she'll return everything
on time. And
get the money back.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck you doing? She just
like you sitting in a tree stand, bro.
Yeah,
just getting that satisfaction, you know. But
I'm not returning my deer at the end of the season.
Well, it's free after you've dropped it. You know? You can't. I think that my wife is like, we're getting ready to go to a wedding, and she's looking at dresses and looking and looking.
That new dress, Joe.
And I'm really thinking about just calling my boy and be like, dude, look, I'm gonna have like 1,500 tied up. I just like Venmo you 1,500 now and just stay home, send me some pictures. like I'm sure I'm gonna have a good time, and there's gonna be some stories told about me. But like,
month away.
Bro, 1,500 really set you up next month, you know.
Mm.
So we'll see. To be determined. So happy Father's Day to our 17 listeners out there.
Yeah.
Wait. There's only probably 4 dads out there listening. So happy Father's Day to those 4 dads.
Our views are up. We're good. We're doing well.
I get nervous. Demographics though.
I don't know.
More.
I get nervous walking in the sheets. I'm like, are they going to notice me? people are going to be like, hey.
I have had
like, hey, you're the guy. I'm like, oh yeah, between 2 bridges. They're like, no, the dickhead parked in 2 spots. So, no, it's fun. We start these episodes all the time with like, what are we going to talk about? Mm-hmm. Here we are. What are we, hour and 15 in, hour and a half in? And we did it.
We did it.
Episode 32, 33.
Whatever it is.
Rest in peace.
What's that?
Books.
Franco Harris.
Franco. Joel West. Or
Jerry.
Didn't we go to school with a Joel West?
I don't think so, but
we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it off the air, but yeah, I think we did.
Joel West.
He might have been locked up a couple times, in and out.
It's a great way to end, Joe.
Yep. Joel West, shout out to you, brother.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to Between Two Bridges, a business-to-business podcast. Find and follow us on your preferred podcast streaming platform. Like and subscribe, and leave us a rating and review. You can join us socially on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Yes, we still call it Twitter. You can email the show at info@betweentwobridgespodcast.com. Until next time, make it till you rake it.